I'm alone in my office. It feels very strange. Hi guys, welcome back to a new video. It has been a really long time since I sat down and did a talkie video. I really enjoyed filming them, so I'm not really sure why I stopped, but it's been a while since I sat down and filmed a video like this, so I figured this evening Nathan is out at the gym, I would. So as you might have guessed, today I want to talk about new job anxiety. So I recently left my old job and started a new one, and changing jobs for anyone I feel is stressful and hard, and it's a big transition, especially if you've been at your previous job for a really long time, or maybe you've never had a job before. I remember feeling petrified of the world of work, and starting my first job was probably the most stressful thing I have ever done. But yeah, changing new jobs is stressful for anyone. It's a new environment, it's change, completely different people, completely different role maybe. You don't know the in-team politics, you don't know where the best coffee is, you don't know everyone's names yet. It can be even more daunting and scary and stressful though if you're particularly prone to worrying or getting stressed quite easily, or if you've got generalised anxiety disorder or social anxiety disorder like I do. So as I have spent the past month now adjusting to a new environment and navigating that new job anxiety, I feel reasonably qualified to talk a little bit about new job anxiety and the things that you can do to combat that. I know that one of the most helpful things for me when I was feeling stressed about starting a new job was knowing that it's actually really quite normal to feel uprooted and lost when you start a new job. A lot of people feel this way, and you're not weird or strange for feeling this way too. There are also very many things that you can do to take the pressure off yourself and make that transition a little easier. So I guess that today's video is a video of two sides. It's one, a reminder that you're not strange or an alien or a freak of nature to feel worried about starting a new job. It's actually, I think everyone feels worried about starting a new job to some degree. Also, a bunch of tips that I would have given to myself at the beginning of this month. So I guess tip one is actually more of a background or a little bit of context to explain the feeling of anxiety, or to really hammer home that anxiety is a biological thing that everyone experiences at some point in their life to some degree. I often find that understanding the reaction that anxiety is helps me to be a little bit more patient with myself. I understand that there is a biological explanation and a logical explanation for me feeling the way I'm feeling. I feel a little bit less like an alien, and I feel a little bit less like I'm malfunctioning and there's something wrong with me. I read recently something that I thought was interesting and maybe is slightly tenuous, I'm not sure, but during the hunter-gatherer days, basically whenever we encountered new people or lots of people, it was likely because we were moving into another tribe, were moving into another tribe's territory, which was stressful and potentially dangerous. So I read that humans have to take or make a decision really quickly as to whether or not those humans are friends or foe, and adjust their behaviour accordingly. The article says that the trouble is that we've retained our nervousness even though we no longer have to hunt and gather. Humans have moved from a world where they met only a few hundred people during their entire lifetime to encountering that many strangers riding the subway or attending a conference. We're out of our element from an evolutionary standpoint, and our minds and cognitive abilities are still catching up. Whilst I recognise that this doesn't offer a complete across-the-board explanation for anxiety, it's a little bit better with social anxiety, I guess, but I understand that it doesn't offer and explain all for feelings of anxiety, and especially not starting work anxiety. It does highlight the biological, rational, logical qualities of anxiety as a response to new things. Reminding myself of things like this really helps me to be kinder to myself, because although some people seem to be more adaptive than other people, and some of us feel better at it than others, the fact is that humans aren't always necessarily as adaptive as they would like to be, and that's fine. Essentially, although it feels crap, anxiety in the face of new situations is actually a really normal response and an evolutionary response, and it's just something that we are programmed to do, so don't beat yourself up about it. But it is a crappy feeling, so what can you do to alleviate that feeling when it's not serving a helpful function? Firstly, you can train your mind, like in my first few tips, or you can do physical things. I'll get to those later. So, number one, have faith in your ability. It's very easy when you start a new job to let thoughts of anxiety and nervousness and trepidation as to what that new job might entail turn into feelings of self-doubt, I guess, and not believing maybe that you're able to do the job. Am I going to be able to do the job? What happens if I fail? What if my employer thinks that I'm something that I'm not? What if all my colleagues hate me? What if I don't understand any of the tasks I'm given? I know that for me, struggling with anxiety means that I often feel inadequate or insecure about my own abilities. These are definitely feelings that amplified just before I started my new job, especially in the first few days, in the first few weeks, and even now. I've only been there a month, so I definitely still am learning the ropes and getting to know people and my place in the workplace, and it is stressful, but I'm getting better. But I found myself having to remind myself a lot that I was there because my employer chose me out of a panel of people as the best person to do that job. So if you're starting a new job, you're there because you are the right person to do that job. Your employer chose you, they have faith in you to do that job, and you're the best person to do it, otherwise you wouldn't have got the job. So trust that you're able, because you clearly are, and let it become your mantra, like, I am good enough for this job, I'm doing really well, look at me with my new job. Have faith in your ability. My second tip would be to try to be patient with yourself and to remind you that you're not supposed to know everything. Nobody, not even the most confident, self-assured person, knows everything on their first day of work. And not even their first day of work, like just in general. Even the most confident people have their insecurities or things that they're not so good at, but you're not supposed to know everything, and your employer doesn't expect you to know everything. If you're like me and a lot of your anxiety stems from being worried about making a mistake or letting people down or forgetting something simple or making a fool out of yourself, give yourself permission to be human and to make mistakes just like everybody else, because you're a human being, you will make mistakes, and it's perfectly okay. Practically, if you're really worried that you're gonna be so nervous in your first week or your first day at work that you're gonna forget really simple things like passwords or simple instructions, then give yourself a buffer. Give yourself a feeling of extra security by writing everything down. So on my first day of work, I still have it now, and I'll probably have it for months and months, just a notebook where I write everything down so that there's absolutely no way that I can be given a piece of information and lose that information or forget that information. I always have that book as like my safety blanket. If someone asks me a question, even if I know the answer, I'll refer to that book. With that in mind, in the first few weeks of working in a new job, a source of anxiety for me, along with being terrified of messing up and everyone hating me, was just a general feeling of everything having changed and my routine not being the same and things just being a bit different and me not being able to relax comfortably into that. Something I found that was really helpful for me during that time was to make everything else in my life as familiar as I possibly could. Find stability in the familiarity of going climbing on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or reading a chapter of your book every night before bed, or meditating for 10 minutes in the morning, or going to the same coffee shop every morning and getting your favourite coffee. My next tip kind of seems like it could be irrelevant, but again it kind of feeds into that idea of familiarity. My next tip is to bring personal items to your desk and make your desk your own. I know that sounds silly, but every little helps, right? My next advice or piece of advice or tip would be to dress your best. And I don't mean this in the sense that you want to go in dressed to the nines on your first day, but dress your best so you feel good about yourself, but also comfortably, so you are your comfortable best. When you're dressed comfortably and you feel like you look nice and you're presenting yourself well, that gives you a certain amount of confidence, which can help you to negate those feelings of anxiety or feeling unsure of yourself. When you feel good about yourself, that helps you to feel good about the environment that you're in as well. So pick out a couple of your favourite items of clothing before your first day of work. I can't talk today. Before your first day of work. You'd be surprised how small changes like that really do make a big difference to those feelings of anxiety. Next step is a bit of a no-brainer, but that is to exercise, eat well, and try and avoid caffeine. So I am a massive coffee drinker, but I find that if I drink lots and lots of coffee, it makes me feel anxious, and I think that's the same for a lot of people. People even without anxiety, it raises your heart rate, it makes you feel a little bit nervous. When you're feeling anxious, you want to be doing everything you can to help reduce that rush of adrenaline. Drinking alcohol also doesn't help when you're feeling particularly anxious. I find if I drink and I'm feeling anxious, it generally makes for a really bad time. Eating well, getting enough sleep, looking after yourself, it's all kind of, I don't really need to, I'm sure it's been said many times before, but just when everything else is in disarray, it's really easy to fall into bad eating habits, to not get so much sleep because maybe you're stressed, to maybe self-medicate a little bit. It was really important that I made a conscious effort to look after my health because my mind was elsewhere, and so that kind of like healthy living routine could very easily have slipped, and it probably did a little bit, to be fair. The advice that I would have given to myself at the beginning of last month was to really keep that in check, because I think had I kept my diet a little bit more in check and maybe limited my alcohol and caffeine intake, I maybe would have felt a little bit better during that time. Honestly, my biggest advice, not just with this but with anything that feels overwhelming or horrible or scary, is this: horrible feelings always pass, nothing is forever, and take it day by day. And I know this has been said so many times and it's so overused and it's so cliche, but it's because it's true. Such obvious, overstated advice, but honestly, take things day by day. Break your worries or the things that you're nervous about into manageable chunks, and they feel less overwhelming. Try to help yourself to understand that today is just one day of many days, and in the grand scheme of things, even if you feel horrible and like you can't cope, the day will end and it is irrelevant. In the grand scheme of your life, you won't even remember this day. In a year's time, it will be nothing. You won't remember it. The feeling will not last forever. Pile the pressure on yourself to solve everything, your feelings of anxiety, being confident at work in one day, because it likely won't happen. Things generally don't happen in a day. You have to work at them. Understanding that you can take things slowly and tackle one thing at a time often helps to make anxiety feel a little bit more manageable, at least for me. So understand that it is okay not to feel like you have to solve everything all at once, and just to take things one step at a time, baby steps. I don't have all the answers, and this is probably more of a place for me to kind of word vomit about my first month of work, but what I can tell you is that you will be absolutely fine. You are doing brilliantly. You have got yourself a new job, maybe, well done, and you're going to do brilliantly in that new job. You were chosen to do that job. I'm sure that you are brilliantly talented at doing what you do, so go and enjoy your new job and kill the game, because you're brilliant and anxiety sucks. A kind of word vomit slash tips on how to survive new job anxiety, or things that you can do to make new job anxiety feel a little bit better. I don't know, I guess it was kind of all over the place. It's been a really long time since I filmed one of these and I feel a little bit rusty, to be honest, but I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.